How does that hurt anyone by showing the cop their ID?
Why do I gotta show you my ID? What are you stopping me? Like,
but
why?
Who does it hurt?
Doesn't hurt no one, but I'm not gonna show you ID for no fucking reason.
If somebody barged into your house and was like, "Let me see your driver's license just to prove that you live at this address," you're gonna be like, "Under what fucking authority do you think you could do this to me?"
Yeah.
I think it's the same exact argument for a police officer trying to. Now there is an answer of how quickly can I get out of this situation is probably to comply with a police officer, but that doesn't necessarily coincide with what is correct.
I think there's a fear too. Like once you give a cop your ID, now you're engaged in an interaction with them. They can hold on to that ID, and it kind of holds you into the interaction with the cop until they hand it back to you.
Question for you boys. Do you think it's good for these sovereign citizens or the police auditors to be out there trying to police the police? You think that's a smart fucking idea?
No.
They're two different things.
Like, you already fucked this up.
You already fucked
it up. There's two different things. I understand that.
Sorry, I'm the rando commenter.
I felt aggressed.
There's no part of me that agrees with what the sovereign citizen stuff, because I think it's just a ridiculous idea. Police auditors, though, I don't really know enough about it. I think Doughy's got some insight on that, right?
Police auditors are people who basically make sure that the police in their area understand the laws and where the citizens can take the law and how far the police can push back. And so basically they kind of keep the cops in check. They record the cops to make sure the cops aren't saying any wild shit. They're just making sure that cops are doing what they're supposed to be doing and citizens can do what they're supposed to do. Now, there is a level in severity to the things that auditors do that could be viewed as more inflammatory than others. Some could be recording at a police station, like, you know what I mean? Recording and it's a public lobby and they're allowed to record. And if the police want to stop them, lawfully they can. And the police need to understand that they can be recorded in their lobby doing their job. There's nothing unlawful with that. And basically the auditors go there and do that to make sure the law is being upheld.
Are these like self-elected people? Are they putting themselves forward for this position? Is this a paid position for police auditors?
I do not think these people are getting paid for it. And I
gotta random YouTube people doing this shit for clout.
Are they just part of are they part of organizations, or they're just doing this shit completely for clout?
They're probably on the libertarian subreddit, and they're like, "All right, let's go out there." Because what Doughy's talking about on the very low end of how confrontational this could be, you're talking about somebody just walking into a police station to file a complaint, and they got their video recording out, or some cop is making an arrest and somebody's recording them from across the street or something like that. That's like on the lowest end. On the high end is like a group of guys walking down the street with AR-15s and scary looking guns all strapped up on them, like held and all of that type of shit. And then people start calling the cops. When the cops show up, they see all these guys with guns. They're like, all right, this isn't fucking normal. But lawfully in a lot of states, you could have an open carry state, and if you're not breaking a law or doing anything suspicious, then the police officers have no right to force you to identify yourself, to detain you, to question you, or anything like that. And a lot of these guys, they're just out there doing this shit I honestly personally think it's for clout. All right, they want to do it to make videos and put them on the internet. They'll claim that they're doing it to keep the police officers in check.
I honestly think it's also a little bit of mix of them trying to show people like, hey, these are actual laws that you can do. Like, I didn't know that until I saw the video years ago. Like, of the dude carrying an arrow. I'm like, yo, what the fuck is this numbnuts doing? And he's like, oh, this is my God-given right. Like, I can walk around with this law. I can do this. I can do that. I didn't even know that. I had to search that shit up and be like, oh, wow, motherfuckers can really carry a AR walking around in public like it's nothing. I think it's beast. I think it's a little ridiculous. I think you're bringing attention that's not good. You know what I mean? Because you get a nervous cop, he gonna shoot your ass.
Yeah, I don't think that I don't see any reason to need to carry a long gun in public. I barely see. I also barely see a reason to like concealed carry or anything like that. I've never walked around a city fearing for my life that I'm going to get into a confrontation where I'm going to need a gun to defend myself. But carrying a long gun in particular, walking around with like a shotgun or something in the city seems so wild to me that anyone would feel that's something they need to do.
I agree with that part, but not with that second part about concealed carry. I think everyone should conceal carry.
Tony, I think your life is very different than mine then, because I don't feel a need to have to carry a weapon to defend myself in my everyday life.
You ever watch The Kingsman?
Mm-hmm.
And Tony's life is like the church scene where everybody's killing everybody. So like he needs a gun to defend himself from those types of situations.
But you just never know. Like you could be in a fucking Walmart and some gunmen come in and start blasting. You just don't know. I'm not saying
the best move for survival in that situation is to run.
So Pucho brought up the part that he thinks it's for clout. I think it's for something else. And notoriously, these people want to sue the police and they want to get a lawsuit. They want to catch the police breaking the law somehow, so that they either have to settle or something like that. So this for me is what it also feels like, teaching people about their rights so that if shit goes down, you potentially could come up on a lawsuit or some shit like that, is what it feels like a lot of the times. Because a lot of the headlines of these things are lawsuit and these police messed up. You know, like it's always like something like that.
I can see that. I just don't agree with it because it's just like they're really going to waste their time. They're going to get their guns pulled. They're going to go to jail for a couple thousands. Like, is it really worth it?
I saw one specifically. There was this young little kid flipping off the police as they drove by. This little kid. The police stopped him and started harassing him. And he's like, I didn't break any laws. I didn't do anything wrong. And they're just kind of just harassing him. And how do you feel about flipping the police off and calling them names as you drive by and stuff like that? And then they come and stop you. How do you feel about that?
It's the same thing as you do it to a random stranger. You're going downtown, you'd be like, yo, fuck you. At some point, you're going to you're going to be causing him to be aggressive with you. He's going to come up. He's going to confront you.
Police aren't supposed to. In the perfect world, police shouldn't succumb to instincts to go and try to put someone in their place just because they said "fuck you" or something while they're walking down the street. That's not supposed to be the role of police in the world.
What was that?
I don't know. I agree with the idea of auditing the police. I think that like the idea that like a lot of the investigations into like police shootings and things like that are conducted by a branch of the police. I think that's a ridiculous idea to me. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know what is a better system, but I think that police auditing themselves to see if the police broke any rules, I think that's a flawed idea in and of itself.
Yeah. That is by definition a conflict of interest. By definition. I was shaking my head because you try to emphasize in a perfect world. It's like, no, we all know that if somebody's exercising their First Amendment right, such as using a hand gesture or speaking words that are non-violent words, anybody puts their hand on them, it's wrong. So straight up, you can say "fuck you" to anybody. Not a
violent word. That's not a violent word. Fuck you.
Fuck you. No. Where's the violence?
I don't think.
Where's the threat?
I don't think fighting words exist anymore. There used to be a legal definition for like fighting words, and these were like if someone said statements like this to you, you could legally fight them. This is like a super old school thing. I don't think that exists under the law in America, and I don't think it has at any point.
Back in the Western days, you call somebody yella, they could shoot you on the spot. All right, they're like, you can't call me no coward. All right. Nah, no, fuck you's not violent. Violent is I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna.
Very different.
Yeah, that's what violence is, Tony.
I would say fuck you is maybe causing somebody to do violence to you.
I watched enough No Jumper videos to know you don't call anybody from LA a bitch or the West Coast. Them niggas, they take that word bitch like serious.
Almost like suck my dick in New York. That's probably the same. What is?
I don't know. I thought
that's just how you greeted people in New York.
How you suck my dick, your mother, your bitch, or some shit. Like, you know what I mean? It's like an essence of New York. I love it so much because two people, they'll go into a suck my dick off like very quickly. You're almost waiting for it to happen. You're like, when is this nigga going to tell him to suck his dick? And then when it happens, you're just like, I knew it.
But now going back to the cop shit, those motherfuckers will harass you for sure. You go and start flicking them off, you'll catch the right one. They'll come fucking harass you, and they're gonna be, and then you be like, "Oh, I don't gotta show you shit. That's this, and that." Once you tell a cop how to do their job, that shit's a fucking boom. That's it. They're hot. They don't give a fuck. If they don't fuck with you, and let's say you tell a cop that shit, right? How to do his job. If they don't mess with you, they don't harass you, they're not gonna say nothing. Meanwhile, if your ass get jumped or get beat up by some guys, they not gonna help you either. That's how I think some cops will operate, bro. They'd be like, you know what, fuck you.
Yeah, and that's fucked up because you're basically saying that they're not doing their job properly.
Maybe they need to be audited.
Yeah, maybe they need to be audited. But yeah, I honestly, sorry, to answer your question though, people flicking the police off, things like that, yeah, they're fucking idiots. Like, at least me, I don't have the privilege to walk around doing that type of shit because I don't want to have confrontations with police.
Same.
That's the way I feel. I'm like, so what bothers me is when they're trying to put you in cuffs, right? When you're at that moment, it's like people go into either fight or flight mode. Like, they want neither. It just, for me, I don't think I could survive a situation like I would just listen to the police. Call me a bootlicker, but once you're trying to arrest me, just arrest me, and then we'll figure everything out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a criminal.
Well, I mean, even the legal advice. There's this video that goes around every now and then. It's these two lawyers. They're smoking big, like, fat cigars. They're smoking stogies, and they're like, let me give you the advice on what you need to do when you have an interaction with a cop. Like, just shut the fuck up. They're like, just don't say anything. Ask them if you're being detained, and then shut the fuck up. Don't answer their questions. Don't follow if they just sit down. If you're being arrested, let them arrest you. And shut the fuck up. Don't say anything, because that's the best advice when you're dealing with cops. If you're dealing with a cop, if you're not being arrested, you don't need to tell him anything. If you are being arrested, don't tell him anything, because everything you say is going to be used in the case against you. You don't need to go and start telling the cop, fuck you, I'll fuck you up, blah, blah, blah. It's just going to make the situation worse.
I do think, though, there has to be, like, I won't shut the fuck up. Like, but I'm not gonna aggravate it even more. Like, if we met somebody, oh, what are you doing? Show me your ID. I'm gonna be like, no. Are you detaining me? You're not? No? Oh, okay then. I'm like, fuck out of here. I ain't gotta show you shit.
I do forget if you are legally obligated to show a cop your identification or not.
Nah.
How does that hurt anyone by showing the cop their ID?
Why do I gotta show you my ID? What are you stopping me? Like, why?
Who does it hurt?
Doesn't hurt no one, but I'm not going to show you ID for no fucking reason. What do you need my ID for?
I mean, there's levels of unreasonableness, right? Like, if somebody barged into your house and was like, let me see your driver's license just to prove that you live at this address, you're going to be like, under what fucking authority do you think you could do this to me?
Yeah.
I think it's the same exact argument for a police officer trying to... Now, there is an answer of how quickly can I get out of this situation is probably to comply with a police officer, but that doesn't necessarily coincide with what is correct. I think a lot of people get stuck on this is wrong. I'm not going to go along with it. But
I think there's a fear too. Like, once you give a cop your ID, now you're engaged in an interaction with them. They can hold on to that ID, and it kind of holds you into the interaction with the cop until they hand it back to you.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, you're stuck there until he releases you. Now at that point, you're kind of detained because you're not going to leave your fucking ID.
Yeah, but I've also never seen any of those encounters go well for anyone.
Yeah, I mean,
especially of color.
We do get the selection bias too, right? Because the shit that goes viral, the shit that we end up seeing on the internet is the bad interactions. You don't see like the good interactions, and there could be the argument it's because there's less good interactions than bad interactions.
I've had a cop ask me
most of the
before.
time, the ones that don't go well, the cop will be like, "Okay, you're under arrest." At that point, that literally means you are being detained. That's the moment where you just go, "All right, I'm not going to talk anymore because I don't want to self-incriminate." and then you just let them detain you and do whatever they got to do, but just don't talk. But I don't think there's anything wrong to be like, yo, am I being detained? Let me see your driver's license. Officer, am I being detained? And force them to answer that. Once they say yes, you have to physically do what they ask you to do, but you don't have to verbally comply with anything. You know what I mean? You could just be like, okay, like go ahead and detain me. I'm gonna not talk. I'm not gonna self-incriminate and just shut the fuck up. Like, and if they say you're not being detained, then your follow-up question is, okay, am I free to go?
Yep.
Just force them to answer those questions. Like,
you don't even gotta say that. You just go.
Nah,
you're not being detained.
You'll get your ass beat. You don't.
Wow.
Tony's getting tased.
Am I being
bro?
detained? No, just turn around, walk away. You get tackled, bro.
I've had a cop in downtown West Palm like just come up to me and be like, because there was a fight or something that just happened down the street. You could see it, and I'm walking that way because my car is parked that way. Cop asked me, "Yo, show me your ID." You know this? I'm like, "For what?" Show me your ID. I was like, "Am you arresting me?" Like, I'm just walking to my car. I said, "Show me your ID." I was like, "No." His partner came up. And he was like, "Yo, he wasn't even involved. This and that." I was like, "What a dick!" Of course. Like, why would I? Like, I'm just a bystander, bro. Walking to my car. A fight broke out. Why the fuck are you trying to come ask me a question? Did you see something? I'm gonna still tell you no. But it's just like, why you want my ID, bro? I'm not giving you my ID. For what?
Someone say you were a sovereign citizen. You were not complying to let me stop. You were an auditor. You can't confuse the two.
Let's go into sovereign citizens now. What are sovereign citizens? You guys help me figure that out.
From my understanding, sovereign citizens believe that just because you're born in America doesn't mean you have to comply with the laws of America, because they never signed an agreement. They never entered into an agreement with the government of the United States of America that they would follow their laws and that they wanted to be a citizen of this country. So they believe that they're world citizens or sovereign citizens or whatever term they want to use. And because they never entered into this agreement, they don't have to follow the United States laws and procedures. So these kind of guys, they don't get driver's licenses and they drive down the road. They don't believe in paying taxes. They don't believe that they have to follow police instructions because the police are members of a nation and they're powered by an authority that they don't recognize. They're a whole different branch of crazy that I can't really get behind.
How do they survive in modern with banks and all this stuff like that? How do they like survive? What
every single day of their lives? I am a sovereign citizen. You hold no right over me. I have the right to bank anywhere I wish. You know, probably like that.
So they go into a supermarket and they'll take all the stuff they need and just walk out and be like, "I'm a sovereign citizen."
Well, I mean, they still believe in the concept of like barter and exchanging of goods and things like that, from my understanding, at least.
Yeah, I just think that their whole shtick is like, just because they were born here, they're not subject to the laws of this land. They didn't enter into that agreement with the government. Like, which is not crazy. Like, in the sense of like, it would be shitty, like, if somebody was just like, you're subject to just these random rules that I'm imposing on you, just because type of shit. But it's like, it's really the only way society could work. So it's unfortunate, but. So it's something that people don't consent into. They're just born here and they're forced into it. You know what I mean?
Imagine if we had like a ceremony at like the age of 18 where you had to go to the government and put your hand on like a Bible or something and swear to uphold like the state, like the laws of the United States.
It's when they make all the fucking 17-year-old kids sign up for selective service. Remember they do that? Y'all all did that in high school, right?
Yep.
I still got my selective service card in my wallet.
I even got mad that they
tore mine up. I'm an objective. What is it? A conscientious objector.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I'm reading this shit. I did not know. Like, these guys are really. This is a fucking real fucking movement that it was only predominantly white people, but now people of color are obviously.
What a surprise!
What?
That they're predominantly white.
No, yeah. So,
very like all this shit, even the auditors and all that type of shit. It's a very privileged position to be in. Like,
yeah, I live my life trying to limit my interactions with cops. I'm not going out of my way to try to interact with cops.
So you're saying because of they're white, they're going to get away with any police auditing that they do?
No, but I think that there's a lesser chance of conflict typically, just given socioeconomic
Yeah,
I see that. Yeah.
You see people trying to record a police interaction in the ghetto, and they get fucked up. They take their phone away. They get
arrested,
and all of that shit. And then you go and look at fucking another video of a guy walking down the street with an AR-15, and the cops peacefully, let the guy go away. And it's like, all right, there's a different treatment here. And to me, the guy walking down with the gun is the worst offender of our moral laws, I should say. Like, not, these things aren't written, but as a people, we kind of feel like you shouldn't be walking around flaunting your gun around. It makes people uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying?
Some people would argue that them having the gun is what makes the interaction with the police go smoother. I don't know if I've subscribed to that viewpoint, but I know there's some people out there that believe that.
These sovereign citizen people, I just looked on YouTube real quick. They seem insufferable.
Yes.
Like, sovereign citizen doesn't understand traffic laws. What? Like, what? Sovereign citizen caught driving immediately after leaving jail suffers the consequences.
Some will say you might be one of those people when you ride your bike around New York and not stopping at red lights.
Sure.
A little Idaho stop.
Yeah. Sovereign citizen gets tased trying to enter courtroom. No registration, no plates. A look into the rising sovereign citizens movement. I was like, half of these are driving infractions.
That's how they get caught, dude.
Do you guys think though, because you're pretty much going into saying like it's white privilege for them to do the auditing because they can get away with it without any bodily harm coming from them or whatever because they're treated differently.
A group of black people walking into just think about it. Just a group of black people coming in, filming. No, y'all can't do. It's not happening, bro. It's not going down like that. It's a white privilege thing for sure.
It's gonna be that video of the cop just over there, just walking down and just macing people in the face. Except it's gonna be a bunch of people with their phones out.
But you don't think that? I kind of agree with it, but I'm saying like you don't think that it also depends on the cop that's approaching them.
Oh, 100%, 100%. But I like we talked about I think on the previous episode, cops are terrible at de-escalation, and there needs to be a heavier focus on how to de-escalate without tasing people, without macing people, without trying to use violence, because I don't think violence is how you de-escalate a potentially violent situation. It just turns it into a violent situation.
And when I'm going with it, Pucho, because I saw your face, was that the numbers here is saying like, oh, the white people are privileged, that's why they do it, that's why it's different interactions. But I don't want to say that it's only basically their skin color. I want to say that it's also the cop who approaches them. If you get a dickhead cop, we all dealt with cops. Whether they're dickheads or cool cops, relaxed cops, it's like that right there is the numbers game. That's where it really... Like, unless you get the same cop with two different people doing the same thing, then you can really gauge, like, okay, this is a race thing. It is a white privilege thing. But honestly, I think it's that numbers are skewed just because of the cop who's doing the interactions. That's all. I don't think it's
I think cops tend to be nicer to white people. Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of factors, right? Neighborhoods with higher rates of crime tend to get police to a higher level, and neighborhoods with higher rates of crime, typically in this country, they tend to be the neighborhoods that have more people of color. And maybe there's more incidents of crime there because there's more cops there, so they're catching more crime, and it's this vicious cycle of their own like bias being confirmed by their bias and their stereotyping. So there's a lot of factors. There's a lot of factors in why white privilege plays any aspect in bad interactions with the police.
And just to be clear, I actually never made a statement. You said that the auditors were mostly white, and then now people of color have started to become auditors. When you said they were mostly white, I said we were like, oh, that's not surprising. That was the statement. I never made a claim that
the sovereign citizens, not the police auditors. What I said.
No, you were reading.
It was
whoever the fuck. It doesn't matter. Oh. Sorry, you were reading something about some group of people being mostly white, and I said, I think Mateo said, "There's a surprise" or something, and like and I agree with him. That was it. None of us made the claim that like because they are white, the cops won't do anything to them. I don't think that's true. I think the cops are less likely to do things to them.
Yeah.
And I'm not even bringing in like a racist cop or anything like that. Like it could just be flawed training. It could be, what they see on the news. It could be so many reasons why. It could be a lot of reasons that aren't racist of why cops mistreat a particular race, more than others.
Yeah. I've seen white people get dogged out by the cops, though. So, like, I've something like, all right, they fucking that nigga. Ugh.
I just watched a
what
video.
What did he do? It must have been bad.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah.
I just watched a video this morning where this dude asked the cop why he was being arrested. The cop maced him, and then they arrested some white chick randomly that was just filming the interaction and asked the same question of why he was being arrested. The cop was like, "Yep, now you're arrested too." For no reason specified.
That's beast. That's when you can fucking sue. That's where the money comes into play, though, right there. But nah, I don't know. I just think it is kind of fucked, though. It's a true statement that privileged people can do certain things and kind of, fucking get away with that without any bodily harm or being arrested and shit. But yeah, I am in agreement with police being audited, honestly. That's something I can agree to. Someone's got to be like, yo, you're beasting, or you're like, yo, take your knee off his neck. Like, yo, you're abusing your law. Like, that shit does need to happen. And then police going over the tapes to see if the police were doing wrong, that's a big no-no. That's definitely a conflict of interest, and that shit needs to be handled.
Yeah, but I guess for me, I agree with cops should be audited. The question is, how does that auditing occur? And I don't like the idea of fabricating a situation to prove a point.
Yeah.
Like, I think if a cop is doing a misconduct, then they should be recorded and they should be outed and they should face whatever repercussions that misconduct, whatever the consequences of that are. But I don't think you should go out of your way to make it look like you're doing a crime or do something are going to piss cops off and then just to test what the cops would do. Like, to me, it feels similar to like when people would have the cops would set up like a car on the side of the road that has the keys in it, it's running, all that type of shit. And they're just looking for the person to go, oh, is that door open, to steal a car? It feels like you're setting them up. Like, I don't like that shit. Like,
that feels super predatory.
And shout outs to the two viewers also in our YouTube channel. That
it's a lot of people.
Well, there was like two men guys, Mr. E-Man and Frank W. They were going back and forth about this. Probably why this whole conversation is stemmed from. And it's just funny how how people can have two completely different views, but really can't see what's the real thing we're talking about here. We're talking about,
they're not having a real conversation. I love it. I love the engagement on our video, and B, I just love just the sheer ridiculousness of the conversation. So I'm all for it. It's entertaining me. But they're not having a fucking conversation. They're just highbrowing each other. Oh, you don't know about the rule of 1989. And then the other guy's like, and you are a communist, sir. They're so politely insulting each other. It's just so ridiculous.
He's like, you keep repeating yourself over and over. I keep repeating myself because you keep repeating yourself over and over. It's like, what the fuck? Like, yo, that shit, that was a crazy and funny interaction, man. Y'all, shout out.
Is it Frank W? He ends all his comments with, but you'll keep doing what you're doing. Whatever you're going to do, you'll do it again. LOL. Me and Doughy were sitting there playing Far Cry 6 last night, taking turns. We read the whole conversation.
I was like, okay, you be Frank W, I'll be E-Man.
So shout out to you guys. We love you.
Yeah.
Facts. It was great. Awesome.